Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here to talk to you about Nanatsu no Taizai. Manga chapter 343, titled An Everlasting Kingdom. And when it comes to this chapter of the Seven Deadly Sins, or Nanatsu no Taizai, it kind of confirms that, not confirms, but the Seven Deadly Sins is really approaching its end. And I know I've been saying this for a while, but as a little caveat to what happens towards the end of this chapter, the big bad gets defeated. Now, how he gets defeated? Well, you'll never guess. And with that out the way, I'll go right into the chapter where we actually have like a really decent cover page. It just has Arthur with just a few like semicircles. Not 100% sure what that's supposed to represent, but it's real nice. Not like extraordinary, but it's nice. So, where do we leave off? Oh yeah, I forgot. The monster cat is, as always, mocking Arthur. Because if you remember what happened last chapter, Arthur is basically like, oh, I have an idea on how to defeat you, Kath. And Kath is like, really? In this chapter, he's like, oh wow, really now? You have a way of defeating me? Oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna burn me? You're gonna crush me? You're gonna melt me? Oh, how about all of the above? And Kath is just like going on this just tirade. It's just like, oh, what are you gonna do? Doesn't really matter. I'm gonna eat you before you do it. And it's just, Kath is just being this like maleficent. Wow, I cannot words. Maleficent. There it is. Maleficent. Gosh, I cannot say her name. But he's basically being straight up evil. And as the evil cat does, he turns into a big hungry hippo. Or in this case, a hungry calf. Because he just gets he's nothing but mouth. He is nothing but mouth, threatening to devour Arthur. And Arthur turns on his head and it's like, no, the one who's going to be eaten is you. And he gets a bigger mouth. He, like, if Kath is a hungry hippo, Arthur became the hungrier hippo, because he literally takes up this entire dimension as just like one big mouth. And the joke writes itself. Kath is being a scaredy cat. He realizes that he's gonna die. But yes, what I talked about in the last chapter, basically the idea that Arthur has is that, you ate my arm, and you gain the power of chaos, so if I eat you, then I get the power of chaos back. Now, it doesn't come in this chapter, I would say it doesn't confirm that he gets his arm back, but this idea is very solid. It's like, oh, you ate a part of me and gained chaos, so if I eat you, then I get that chaos back. And Kath is just freaking out, seeing like, he's probably thinking, it's like, oh, so this is what the inside of my mouth looks like. Wow, there is a whole lot of teeth. And that is one long tongue. But because of Arthur doing this, all of the sins wake up to this hellscape of just razor sharp teeth. And they're just looking like, especially Diane. And I think Diane just has all of the reactions like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And Kath is also like, what's going on here? No. No. And more no. Kath is not having this, to the point where he just like, nope, I am not dying today. So he just stabs into the mouth with like, he just creates these like jagged spikes out of his head, stabbing into like the mouth of the cave, like basically anchoring himself there. And he's like, no. But then, weirdly enough, we just see this tongue just wrap around him as Arthur proclaims that he will eat him and he would absorb him. And I'm like, that's what that mouth do? That mouth tangles cats in it. Wow, that's that's a euphemism if I've ever made one up. But yes, he just wraps the tongue around Kath, declaring that, I'm going to take back the chaos that you stole from me. Because that's just what I'm going to do. And Kath is just, and what I enjoyed about, like, what the next few panels are, is just Kath, like, just saying, I'm never giving him back. Chaos is mine. I'm a descendant of chaos. He's just going back and forth. He's like being pulled forward and then goes back, and then being pulled forward and then goes back. And he just says that he's like the descendant of chaos. And like even Diane makes comments like, oh, he's trying to push back the power of Arthur. And then Arthur, even while like he's taking on Kath, he's like, he wants to understand what Kath wants to do with the power of chaos. So he just straight up asks like, Kath, what are you gonna do with chaos? Like, what is your goal once you like get chaos? And Kath, like literally any generic antagonist villain that is just pure evil, just says, I want to destroy everything. I want to see everything that has a will perish. I want everything destroyed, destroyed, destroyed. And then Merlin makes the comment of like, okay, he's just like the cluster of like the destructive power of chaos. And then Kath, like in like reiteration, just in retaliation, as Arthur says like, well then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna make another kingdom? Because yeah, that really worked out for you, didn't you? Because yeah, just remember, every kingdom that you hit is gonna crumble eventually. just mocking Arthur again, and it's just talking like down to him. It's like, I bet your subjects hate you and you couldn't protect anyone. I bet you're mad at you. You're a horrible king. Just but then Arthur just has like a retort to it. It's like, yo, I don't care if I'm acknowledged by the people as a good king. Like, I just want everyone to live happily, and that I just want to, like, I don't care. And he even talks about, like, I don't even care if, like, they laugh at me. Like, behind my back, I don't care. I don't want anyone to suffer or grieve anymore. I want to do this. I want to, like, create a world that doesn't have to deal with, like, disease, threat of disaster. I just want to create, like, just an everlasting kingdom. And this is what Arthur says. It's like, hey, the title of the chapter, there it is, An Everlasting Kingdom. Arthur said, it's like, it just goes on this long monologue, just basically like saying, it's like, yo, I don't care if like they see me as the bad guy, they see me as the good guy. They laugh behind my back. I don't want to see disaster. I don't want to see peril. I want to create a kingdom where people can be happy and laugh. And just, calls it that an everlasting kingdom. And then Kath, and just retaliates, she's like, an everlasting kingdom? Nothing is everlasting. That is an illusion. That kind of world doesn't exist. It's a contradiction. It's chaos. ... At that moment, Kath realized he fucked up. And like, he gets called out for it. Because immediately afterwards, like, Merlin and Meliodas like, wow, he admitted it himself, didn't he? And Merlin's like, yeah, he walked right into that one. And then Kath is like, oh shit. And then just at that moment, Arthur claims that he is the king of chaos and eats Kath in one bite. And then just swallows him whole. And then what's funny is like he gets like ground up, his body begins to disappear, and then you just hear an audible gulp, and then everything's back to normal. Ish. Everything is back to normal. Ish. I mean, like, everything is still distorted, the world is still weird, there's still checkerboards on the floor, but it's normal. Ish. And once again, Diane is saying a lot of just observation. I'm just realizing Diane makes a lot of observations in the Seven Deadly Sins. She's like just the voice piece of everything. She's like, what's going on? How is this happening? I'm realizing that now. And she even asks like, wait, where's Kath? And Arthur just nonchalantly just looks down into something and is like, I think he's inside me. I'm not sure if he's in my belly, my leg, my arm, my other... Oh, well, no. We don't know if he has the other arm, but it's like... I would just like to imagine, he's like, all right, let me check everything. Is he in my head? Maybe. Stomach. Well, this will look a whole much better if you could see it. Like, oh, is he in my head, my ears, my mouth, my left arm, my... Because, you know, right now, doesn't really have an arm. But pretty much, like, after, like, that, it's just, like, a little bit of, like, banter back and forth, talking about like, well, yeah, are you sure you're able to get like that stolen power back? And Arthur's just looking like, well, I don't know, I'm not quite sure myself. And Merlin makes the astute observations like, pretty sure the power is returned. Why don't you look at your sword? And he's like, huh? Oh my gosh! He gets a pretty much like a complete holy sword where like little angel wings are pretty much like form the entire blade of the sword. It has like a new I'm fairly certain it's a new design for it, basically showing like it's like unique. And Meliodas makes the fact that it's like, oh yeah, wow, yeah, that has a lot of magic power in it. Really suiting for an everlasting king, don't you think? And just Arthur's just so like smitten by it because he all still views Meliodas as like he's still like a fanboy of Meliodas because he's like Meliodas just is like this very like esteemed knight, was a part of like the holy knights, like the like higher echelon of knights, and he like fanboys over them. He's like, oh shucks, you're making me blush, and it's like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, and he talks about, like, yeah, I just gave him a little, like, talking about Catholic, like, I gave him, like, a little tit for tat, an arm for an arm, a leg for a leg, you eat me, I eat you, the difference is, you ate my arm, and I ate your entire being, so you're now a back part of me now, but yeah, but then he talks about, like, it's like, yeah, but, it's very silly. Like, I talked about, like, having an everlasting kingdom. Like, yeah, it's silly. And then Meliodas just hits on the back. It's, like, basically explains, like, yo, a man doesn't go back on his promises once he says it out loud. Like, basically trying to, like, comfort Arthur. And then everyone starts making comments like, oh, yeah, an everlasting kingdom. And, like, Meliodas is like, oh, yeah, that's a very outrageous dream that is worth carrying out, and like it's so wild, it's so crazy, and like King is like, yeah, that's really crazy, but he's like, yeah, but hey, it's crazy. Literally, look at all the sins. Literally, Merlin wanted to resurrect chaos. So like after that, like anything is possible, and just Arthur's like, okay, and then he just fist bumps Meliodas, basically confirming that everything's gonna be alright, that he cannot wait for him to create this world, and that if anything goes wrong, the 7 deadly sins will basically be by the side to help him and will be there with you. And we get a spread of the 7 deadly sins. We see Bond, we see we see Elizabeth, Meliodas, Merlin, Gother, Diane. So I guess like you could be the 7 deadly. Well, yeah, well, now I think about it. I mean, technically they were the 7 deadly sins before like they found Escanor. So I guess like there's really no difference. They can still be the 7 deadly sins. They're just missing like the sin of pride, which. Yeah, no one can really take on the sin of pride, but I guess they could technically be the 7 deadly sins. I guess Elizabeth. Elizabeth can take on like the 7th position of the 7 deadly sin. She probably can't be pride, but like she is literally a goddess figure, so like she does have the power. And Arthur just basically in the last few panels says, "Thank you, the 7 deadly sins," and he says, "You are my everlasting goal." So we cut just to a moonlit night, dark skies. We see the deflated boar hat as the chapter ends, and it's just this nice little panel that basically is somewhat like just almost like a bullet point to the end of the entire series. So yeah, this was actually a good chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins. Probably not the best chapters that we've like had over the past 3 chapters, but probably the better of the most recent ones. Overall, I think that it was pretty predictable of like what was going to happen, especially with the last chapter, that Arthur would eat Cath. I will say what I found interesting was just like the contradiction of chaos. But it makes sense that chaos would contradict itself because of what chaos is. Chaos itself is contradiction, it is light, it is darkness, it is good, it is bad, it is life, and it's death. And the fact that when Cath finally admits that contradiction and calls out the goal of Arthur being chaos, it shows that yes, he is a descendant of chaos and that he cannot break away from that. And eventually it led to his own downfall. The fact of the matter that he is a part of chaos just was inevitable for him to return because his existence and his ideas are contradictions of chaos. And like calling Arthur's idea contradiction, saying that is chaos, makes sense because he is also a vessel for chaos. So I thought that was just a very interesting chapter. And I really did enjoy the interactions between the sins as well, and a little banter that Meliodas and Arthur had. Especially like my favorite like scenes are probably the fact that like when Cath is about to eat Arthur Arthur just creates like a bigger mouth all around it. I really enjoyed that, and I also enjoyed like the fact that Meliodas and Merlin calls out Kath contradiction, saying yeah, you called yourself out on that one. So yeah, overall, thought it was a really good chapter. If I were to give it a score, I'd probably give it like a 3.5. A little bit above average, but still nothing spectacular. Probably Arthur's monologue, his speech. Like, weirdly enough, his speech sounds like that of the protagonist. Like, the protagonist's final speech against, like, the final boss is kind of what that sounds like. Which is funny because it's like the seven deadly sins. The sins are the main characters of this manga for the most part, but Arthur gets like this generic like protagonist speech. So if anything, that kind of like takes it down, but it still makes sense for Arthur's character. So I will let it aside. But overall, really good chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed this review of the Seven Deadly Sins, and Seven Deadly Sins is coming to an end, and hopefully I'll be able to review it until its ending. I'm going to see if I can try to do something else for it, because it's very obvious that Seven Deadly Sins is going to be ending real soon. But still, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you next time. See ya!